Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets, where we give you the strategies, the mindsets, and the frameworks to building your own and dare I say, seven-figure coaching business. I am, of course, your host, the Rode Dog, with none other than the man, the myth, the legend himself, Karl Bryan. Shoots, welcome to the show.
Shoots, what's going on, Rode Dog? How are you, bud? How are you?
I am deep in app building mode with AI. I got to tell you, Shoots, for a guy that knows nothing, and when I say nothing, whatever's less than that, that's how much I know about coding. It's pretty cool times we live in when it's like, you know what, I want to build this app, and it's like, okay, dummy, do this, this, and this, and then send me a screenshot so I can make sure you didn't mess it up, and then that's it. I just keep going.
It's insane, bud. Those times are around us, man. That we're in the process of hiring a new dev guy, and I got to tell you, the top of the list, man. They need to be insanely proficient in AI, or the conversation's pretty much not starting. So there you go. Shit,
pretty crazy. So as folks don't know, this is take two of the day. Apparently, there was a bit of a weather pattern.
It was raining cats and dogs, man. I couldn't hear anything, man. So anyways, so we're here. We're rocking.
Well, why don't we start with something fun like that then? Cats or dogs? Shoots? What's your preference?
Yeah. Cats or dogs? I'm dogs all the way. Although we do have two. So again, living in the Caribbean, we got pot cakes. So our dog was born like on the street. And our two cats were also born on the streets, and yeah, they're pretty awesome. Though I gotta say, they say instinctively these dogs, like they know, and I'd say the cats as well, but they know you saved their life. Whereas what most people are doing, they go and they spend an insane amount of money on purebreds, which, by the way, have at it, and I think that's great. We've had our purebreds, but what you're gonna find a purebred, if you do a little bit of homework, you will see that there's a lot of inbreeding, and you may or may not be getting the best dogs. There's a lot of horror stories out there of dogs a little bit, not the most loyal, and biting crap and not listening, blah 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 blah. But anyway, so when you get a mutt, and and you go to the the local shelter, you might be able to get yourself one kick butt family animal. Be a dog or a cat, but anyway, so there you go. But I am dog all the way, and we've got ourselves a pot cake, and it is. I've had a lot of dogs in my day. This is a home run of a dog. So there you go. My answer. Shoots.
And again, probably if I had to guess, the dog the size of a cat. That would seem fitting. No.
Looks a little like it. We did a. Okay, here's something we did. We'll move on from this real quick. But we did, like 23andMe, where you get like tested, and that you've got X amount of Swede and X amount of Finn and X amount of XYZ in your bloodline. So we did the same thing with our dog. And because, again, where we live, mailing stuff out, it was a real pain in the neck. But we were so excited because you could imagine this dog's born on the street. So we're looking at the dog, and looks a little bit like a golden lab if you were to press me, right? But we're like, oh, it's got to have lab, probably a little bit of pit bull, a little bit of German Shepherd, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. We can't wait to get these test results back. It comes back, right? The biggest waste of money in the history of anything. And it comes back, and you know what the results are? Again, it is a pot cake. Like, this is a mutt on steroids. Like, this is Heinz 57 all day long. But it comes back, and it's 100% American island dog. So I'm like, 100%. We got like a purebred, right? Like, are you kidding me? Born on the street. Anywho, so that's what we got. We get ourselves a purebred born on the street.
let's move on from inbreeding and other things that were not on my bingo card for the day. Hey, listen, I was just mentioning, and we're just saying AI. And like, listen, folks, we do not want to turn this into yet another AI podcast. That is definitely not going to happen. But dude, everybody wants a little bit of advice. They want some information, and probably more importantly, they just need a little direction when it comes to AI. So maybe just give us your quick AI, thought of the day, if you will, without going down too large of a rabbit hole.
Okay. Happily. And agreed, this is not the AI podcast, and we're not here pretending to be the AI podcast. AI thought. Again, I'm well and truly down this rabbit hole. Here's what I would say. Okay, so there's a famous story by economist Paul Pilzer. Again, hope I'm getting his name right, but he tells a story way back when about 10 people that lived on a deserted island, right? And to survive, they need to spend all day fishing. And effectively what they did is they caught 2 fish per day, right? Takes time. Life's a grind for these 10 islanders. Let's put it that way. Well, 2 of them decide to get really innovative. And what do? They spend their time building a boat and a net, right? What happens? They can now catch in the same time that it took to catch 2, right? So the island's now got a bit of, well, the 8 can, like the 8 who are not out fishing, because these guys are now looking after all of the fishing, getting 20 fish. So the 8 can demand that the 2 share with, right? Making it 2 per person, right? So in effect, taxing them and then leaving no incentive for them to fish or innovate further, right? So the 2 abandon, what's going to happen? They're going to be unincentivized, and the 2 are going to abandon their new boat and net and return to just catching 2 fish per day, right? Stagnation's going to set in, no progress or extra wealth for the island. They're going to end up right where they were, right? Or what happens in the story, 2 fishermen can catch 20 fish for the island. And then what's that going to do? That's going to free up the other 8 people to innovate. They're going to do farming. They're going to build homes. They're going to create tools, educate the children, build a school, create learning tools, and let's say curriculum for the children. Innovating other new technologies, let's just say, right? So with this mindset, which I'll call an abundance mindset, the island, better food, better living conditions, let's call it economic growth, quote unquote, but it's not in dollars and cents, but economic growth, right? And wealth is going to multiply through specialization and ingenuity. On the scarcity path, the first one, it's basically socialism. They're not going to really get anywhere. And then the second one is abundance, where, wealth is key to do. They needed to retrain themselves, right? Because they're no longer needing to fish all day. So one learned to teach, one learned to build homes, build shelter, one learned to create tools to eat off of, one cooked really well, one cleaned up and came up with ways to do it faster and more efficiently, keeping the area, let's say more hygienic. What's that going to do? That's going to create for a healthier, community, quote unquote. They're going to live longer. They're going to have a better standard of life. If you get why I'm going over that, that's where we're at now. And what I think we need to be thinking about as far as AI is, right? All the people out there with those useless college degrees are now going to they're going to need to retrain themselves to do stuff like, I don't know what, energy, right? AI is going to take already does, but it's going to take an insane amount of energy, right? Think solar, think wind, think if you're paying attention, nuclear energy is the new, everybody's kind of talking about that. Well, that's going to be a must. And so what do they got to do? They got to retrain themselves. They got to study and become nuclear engineer, renewable energy technician, build geothermal, cybersecurity, going to be, again, grow like crazy. Data center management, data center engineer, AI ethics and policy. I certainly hope that becomes, something that, that becomes a standard. I'm not going. No, you can understand. There's going to be a video of you and somebody saying really horrific things about people that you don't want to be saying horrific things about, and nobody's going to be able to prove that that was or was not you, right? How's that going to feel? Really, really quick. Battery storage, smart grid, technicians and engineers, effectively help these types of companies as business coaches. Maybe you could look to get equity because it sounds like those are pretty good opportunities and ones that are going to grow. Also thinking things like home services, pest control, lawn mowing, window washing, handyman, painting, plumbing. Look, these are not AI proof industries by any stretch of the imagination, but they are AI for the very reasonably foreseeable future, right? But effectively, you're coming up with ways to think about the communities and operating them at a higher level and creating a more abundant environment, right? Operating at a more abundant level, like I was talking about with the island. And we're headed in that area at a reasonably rapid pace. So these are the things that I'd be thinking about. The philosophy degree will not help do what I just described. So it's an exercise of humility and I guess retraining. What's that going to take? Leadership, courage, certainly some critical thinking skills. So nothing really happens until the unspoken is said. Start speaking these opportunities into your existence for yourself, for your loved ones, and those in your circle is something that I would be encouraging you to be thinking about. Again, what does Mother Teresa say? Never underestimate the power of the love of one person, something like that. Probably making a meal of that quote, but one person can make a little bit of a difference. Can you, start speaking these things into existence with your network, with your kids, with your loved ones, your circle, etc. And by the way, okay, so you told me not to go down a rabbit hole. That might have been a bit of a rabbit hole, but who you listen to, like now that intellectual workers are losing jobs, suddenly you're seeing some different options that you hadn't heard in the past. And careful who you're listening to. Like Steve Jobs did not let his kids use an iPad. Zuckerberg would not let his young daughter near Instagram. I can guarantee it. People that owned tobacco companies back in the day, they didn't say smoking was bad for you publicly, right? But privately, they were not smoking themselves, and they wouldn't, for anything in the world, allow their loved ones and their children smoke, right? Translation, the AI folks you're likely listening to are not going to be telling you about the horrific stuff that we've talked about over the last, number of podcasts. Some of it, and by the way, some of it might happen and some of it might not. I don't know. You don't know. Sam Altman doesn't know. Zuckerberg doesn't know. We don't know where this ball is going. But what I would do is I would keep my critical thinking skills moving along. So maybe it's going to go in a horrific direction. Maybe it's going to go in a magical direction. Likely it's going to end up somewhere in the middle. But what you need to be doing is, I think, keeping your critical thinking skills at the forefront, being very, very careful to just listen to, the talking heads, etc. So shoots in some, end it, translate it. You got to go where the puck is going, and yeah, just move steadily like a river in that direction. Don't expect to be able to do just a 180 overnight. But that's my AI thought. But how do I do?
It's interesting too, because I heard Gary Vee talking about how he sees a lot of other things like the great disconnect opportunity coming of, people paying, like seniors paying people to go on a walk with them, things like that. And it's so fascinating of,
Yep.
Some of these things like that really, everyone's like, well, what about all this technology? Well, what if you went the exact opposite way? Because people are so disconnected. So, again, it's that whole critical.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I just real quick. I was on on Facebook and I saw Joe Rogan recommending a book. It sounded really good. What do? I went and searched for it. I worked out very, very quickly. This book was garbage, and that was not Joe Rogan. And I was frankly pissed off, right? Lit, 8 minutes on fire, farting around. And most of all, I was pissed because I got played. And mad at myself, like, you idiot, Karl, right? You're smarter than that. So anyways, that's going to be coming. Not fun, whatever.
Yeah, it's going to be more and more of that. Hey, listen, last week we talked a little bit about market dominating position. And I want you to talk to me about compelling offers, but from a standpoint of your software as a way to help clients absolutely crush it.
Okay, compelling offers. I've got a saying, and this may or may not be mine, by the way, but I say it all the time. Change your offer, change your life. You come up with a good offer, it can change everything. Like when we launched the software many, decade and 12 years ago approximately. Um, the premise of the software is it can find any business owner $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. When done properly in like a networking function, it's been described to me that after you delivered that, and you got to do it with conviction and you got to do it with some mojo, otherwise it won't work the same. But it was like the floor caved in, right? It was like, what are you talking about? Like, how would you do that? What's this software? Can I have a look? Let me see the simulator. Let me see the acceleration software, etc. Did you change your offer, change your life? On that note, trial and error is insanely expensive. What you want to do instead of trial and error, you want to stand on the shoulder of giants. You mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk a minute ago. He's got a great book. It's called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And by the way, the book's probably 10 years old, but it's a beauty. Really think value, 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 offer. Educated people buy more. Business owners that don't have a huge amount of experience, they tend to try go sell, 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 right? But you got to be thinking value, value, value. Right hook is to sell them, right? So educated people buy more. You own a landscaping company or a roofing company. What would I do? I would pick up the phone and ask what others are doing in non-competitive competitive markets. Okay, so I got a landscaping company. Who am I calling? I'm calling people in LA. Why? It's super competitive and I get eating their offers. I'd call somebody in New York. I would call somebody in Sydney, Australia, London, England, Toronto, Canada. I'd phone Vancouver, I'd phone Singapore, you know what I mean? Like really, really competitive markets, Singapore, etc. Leveraging what it is that they are doing and what they are offering. And believe me, every McDonald's needs a Burger King. We've talked about that previously. You're effectively creating an offer that is similar. You are standing on the shoulders of giants as opposed to what would you do? Trial and error, throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that some sticks, right? And a good offer, what you really want to do is think of the rule of reciprocity. Like, how do you do that? You run a seminar, you do a lunch and learn, you do a free trial, you do a free sample. I remember speaking to Frank Kern, and he said this, and I'd never forgot it. He said, Karl, I make more offers, so I make more money. I was like, oh my gosh, say that again. And just, most businesses have like 1 or 2 offers per year. What do they got to do? They got to make offers regularly. Could you do 1 a week, 1 a month, certainly 1 a quarter, but it's not 1 per year, 2 per year. It's just not right. You make more offers, you make more money. As you're maybe you're putting together these offers, you want to use scarcity. Okay. Exclusivity might be another way of saying that. Think Rolex, think Ferrari, think Louis Vuitton, right? These guys, they're so good at it that when you buy the Louis Vuitton purse or the Ferrari or the Rolex, they become investments because they're so scarce, right? Only, Ferrari only make X amount of the specific car. And by the way, you got to put a non-refundable deposit down and you got to wait 18 months to get the car. Okay, guess what? Apparently it's working pretty well, okay, because Ferrari's doing all right. Another thing you can do is use discounts. Don't overdo it. The truth is, it is proven to work. Like Hormozy would be a great example. Obviously, a brilliant business guy. They charge $97 a month for school. He says, don't discount, don't discount, don't discount. And guess what? All of a sudden, school is $9 a month, right? And what do you think they're going to do when you sign up for $9 a month? They are going to move you towards $97 a month, right? At the end of the day, discounts, but don't overdo it. How do you do that? One of the things, like, create a reason, right? But they created a reason for that $9, and it was like, they call it a hobby package or something to that effect, right? Like, have a reason for it. What's that? You're going to buy surfboards in the winter. You're overstocked, inventory reduction. You got a new program leash. You got a new beta program. You got a new starter kit. Or you own a restaurant and you do all you can eat. Why Mondays? Because it's pretty slow and you want to bring some extra people in and you want to get to know, some new families locally. All you can eat on Monday, right? Or kids eat free on Sundays when families are known to get together and go out to dinner. An introductory price for new customers, opposite of an introductory price. So think an offer that you're going to do for long-term clients. What else could you do? A group discount can work well, and then again, rather than make it like sporadic or too vanilla or too broad, you go exclusive to a type of profession or exclusive to a type of industry or a club. Think the ski team, the volleyball team, the school, the hockey team, the college alumni, right? Quantity discount, larger the order, the better the deal. Early bird pricing, when I did traditional and drove traffic online, I used to have I had two offers initially. The first one was how I earned 187 hours in my first 9 months online as a coach. And then I built up a big database of, thousands and thousands of coaches. And then I followed that up because some people opted in and they didn't buy a lot of, obviously, right? Like we brought in thousands of people and we sold hundreds. So there was lots of low hanging fruit there. So then I changed it to how I generated, that's a long time ago, how I generated 250 hot new coaching leads in 90 days using Google. And by the way, there's a little bit of a framework I won't bore you with right now, but you notice that those two sound rather familiar. At the end of the day, what I did is early bird pricing. So when you bought before, 10 o'clock or, before this particular day, guess what? You got early bird pricing, you got a discount, but there was a reason, right? And then others would buy. And I would say, yeah, but you didn't buy on the, you didn't buy the early bird amount. That offer has expired. And we held true to it. Once it expired, and you'd have to pay the higher amount. That's like buying your season's pass to the downhill ski hill during the summer, showing us a competing offer that's better, and we'll match it. Offers. What about like inquiries? So you're not looking to just make a sale, but what you're trying to do is to get an inquiry. Actually, so Red Bull, I wrote this in an email not long ago. It's pretty cool. But like Red Bull, think about the brilliance of this. They paid people to go to popular places, think concerts, fair, outdoor trade shows, car races, football games, baseball games, etc. And what do? They paid them to place crushed Red Bull cans on the ground. And what did that do? It made it look like everybody was drinking it. So you'd be walking and of course you'd step on them and you'd hear them and people were kicking them and you look down and it's Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull, Red Bull. Well, what did you think? Oh my gosh. Well, everybody's doing it. Everybody's drinking this stuff. It must be good, right? Well, that's guerrilla marketing on steroids. And then you go up to, grab a bottle of water, grab a beer, grab whatever. And there's Red Bull. You go, you know what? I'll have a Red Bull too. Anyway, so you want to be thinking, so that I don't know if that's the best example, I guess not, but like inquiry, what do? You go free info, you go to Costco, they're free samples. Okay. What do those samples lead to? Very, very profitable campaigns on average when done well, assuming the stuff, gift on inquiry. You could do a, inquiry through a sales call, but you'd call it a consultation. You could do a survey, free demonstration. We do that all the time with our software. Free estimate. Maybe last one, like member. How do I want to word this? Like member to get a member, or bring a friend for free. I used to own a skating rink in Australia, and it would like bring a mate skate is what we called it, right? So obviously, you're bringing a bud in Australia. It's not buddy, it's mate, right? But anyway, so we allow our client, like, okay, so you bring a mate skate, you bring a friend, and then all of a sudden we have a new prospect, a new person that we otherwise wouldn't have had in our facility, right? And at focus.com, what we do is we allow our clients to bring in a coach under them, and they get paid just, call it net like $1,000 a month to have the coach work with them. So effectively, it makes their membership all but free. And importantly, I want you to think of the magic of that is you've brought us in a new client. We get an extra client. Cost of client acquisition is what? Zero. And, we got to support them. We got to train them, but we happily do that. But basically you're bringing in, coaches and helping us build our program. Like we have dozens of clients per month often through that program. Right. And then we train up a coach. And if you know anything about coaching, no doubt it makes sense that you have one underneath you. So it's a little bit like a member getting a member, bring a mate skate, but for business coaching in our software. So anywho, so those shoots are some ways to be thinking about it. A little bit of scarcity, thinking about, a way to bring in inquiries, and definitely having if your client gets 2 referrals per client, they triple the size of their business, right? But the more exciting bit is that referrals tend to be better clients. And then notwithstanding the cost of client acquisition, goes down dramatically would be an understatement, because again, your clients are literally doing the lead generation for you. You've got to have a successful model and a great program and something that works to do that. So what Dan Kennedy would say is, don't scream too loud until you want to be heard. But if you got that, that's one of the things you want to be doing with your clients. What do you think?
Okay, so now you've told us how to get the client. So give us a frame now to get those people to make a decision and buy.
Ooh, okay. I would go a few ways to do this, right? But immediately urgency and scarcity, right? You want to use those two. Remember, the illusion of scarcity is like a superpower, but like scarcity is the number of units. Okay, so there's 5 left, there's 10 left, only 15, only 10 available, right? And then urgency is time-based. So the offer ends at midnight, right? Early bird discount ends at this time. So they're both designed to take action now. So you've got urgency and scarcity. If they don't take action now, chances are they are not going to take action with your offer. It's not that they don't want it. It's just that they move on, they forget. There's a lot of competition out there. It's competitive, right? So by having, a lot of people say, oh yeah, but I don't really have scarcity. Let me tell you, as a business coach, you have got scarcity. How many one-to-one clients can you handle? You say to me 15. I say, guess what? That is scarcity on steroids. You've only got 15 spots available. Okay, so you've got scarcity. You can say you've only got X amount of spots available with 100%, with full integrity. And by the way, McDonald's, I wrote about this actually in the magazine and an email some time ago, but the McDonald's 5 top all-time offers all had one thing in common. Guess what that is? Scarcity, right? So the McRib, the McPizza, they were only available for a limited time. And by the way, the top brands in the world, what are they? You might have heard me say this before, but it is not Apple. It is not, Microsoft. It's not NVIDIA. It's not McDonald's. It's colleges. It's MIT, it's Harvard, Stanford, it's Oxford. Remember, they are not schools anymore. They're literally hedge funds. And what do they do insanely well to become the biggest brands in the world? They use 3 words: illusion of scarcity. Otherwise stated, it's the more difficult it is to get in, the more prestigious the degree, right? So again, it's very, when mom's daughter, mom's son, dad's son or daughter gets into MIT, gets accepted to Harvard, graduates from Harvard, etc. Where does it go? Straight on Instagram. It goes straight on TikTok. It goes straight on LinkedIn, etc. That is you in many ways promoting them. Same way when you go to the Eiffel Tower. What do? You do the same thing that I did. You take a photo, cameras down by your waist, looking up, and the Eiffel Tower is behind you. What are you doing? That is like branding on steroids. Anyway, so the illusion of scarcity, and also maybe guarantees is something that you could use. Think money back, double your money back. We guarantee your acceptance on application, or you do that's the exact opposite of illusion of scarcity, right? Depends on what it is and their approach. A guarantee buyback. If I don't sell it, I'll buy it from you. Or a long-term guarantee, right? Like rather than 30 days, rather than a 90-day guarantee, you do a 1-year, 2-year guarantee, or even a lifetime guarantee, right? By the way, before that scares your client, the person forgets about it 90% of the time. Not that that's the goal, and not that we're not looking to honor it, right? But at the end of the day, when you do a lifetime guarantee, believe me, in 6 years, what am I trying to say? Like a gift card, right? Guess what happens? It does not get redeemed with ridiculous predictability. It's great promotion for retail, etc. But anyway, so that can help creates urgency. Shoots, before I throw it back to you, just different ways of look, last chance. Okay, sale ends tomorrow. A limited time offer, limited edition would be the Ferrari, the Rolex, the Louis Vuitton model. Only have limited numbers available. Louis Vuitton, again, they, like how does a purse become an investment, but they managed to pull this off, right? Or maybe there's an enrollment period. Maybe there's a window of opportunity to quote unquote get it now, like my early bird price that I talked about earlier, doing traditional internet marketing. It's like a price increase announcement. This may be a way I could word that differently. A charter membership, join now, maybe a free trial. Does that create urgency? I think so. Again, a free trial, and then automatically you start paying after 7 days, after 14 days, after 30 days. Free gift with purchase is something I've done very successfully in the past. Limited times offer, installment payments, payment terms. That is one that your clients are probably not using, could use with huge power. Actually, that reminds me of Elon Musk. You notice this, you'll see on the front end, what does he sell? He sells the waiting list, right? So he didn't sell the Cybertruck. He sold the waiting list for the Cybertruck, and you put down a deposit, right? He did the same thing with Twitter when he took over in the blue tick, right? You jumped on the waiting list. So Elon Musk sells the waiting list. Do you have a waiting list? Does your client have a waiting list? Does the roofer, butcher, baker, candlestick maker? How could they go about doing that? And okay, Sheets, I just want to throw it back to you here, but okay, so speaking of frames, I think this is really important. We're talking about, we talk about discounting, etc. Well, people get addicted to discounting. They get addicted to discounts, but they don't get addicted to free, right? So people that get free offers tend to be more loyal, also is what the numbers say. So they place more value. They place more value on free than they do on a discount. Okay. So a free appetizer, a lot more exciting than 10% off the meal. Right. So what the manager walks up and what does he do? He buys a round of drinks for the table. What do they often do? They come and they drop a card and they say, I'm taking 20% off this round. Wrong way to do it. You're going to buy, it's either free or it's not. And again, people get addicted to discounts is what I'm trying to bring across here. Maybe Shoots. Okay, so I did an interview with one of our really successful coaches, guys, a rock star, Michael Clift. And I asked him, you can listen to the interview, but I said to him, what's the number one thing you've learned in your coaching career? And he said, ironically, guess what? I've learned it from you. And I said, oh, wow, cool. What is it? And he said, scaled pricing. What's that? So let's just say you're $5,000 a month as an example. Instead of being $5,000 a month, remember, if you can coach, you can't sell. And if you can sell, you can't coach. Instead of you charging $60,000, $5,000 up front on day one, what you do is you scale them towards it. What does that mean? It's $997 month one, $1,997 month two, $2,997, $3,997, $4,997. So what happened is you got a $60,000 client with a $997 commitment. Right? Or you're $2,000 a month. That's $497, $997, $1,497, $997. You get a $24,000 client. You only need a $497 commitment. And you could make the $497 2 months and then $997 2 months. You can get creative with it. But what you don't want to do is, because if you can sell, you can't coach. And if you can coach, you can't sell. The folks that are really good at coaching but suck at the selling, what they do is they put a very low offer. And they lower their long-term, their lifetime value of their clients by making them $997 a month. Quite frankly, what happens is they get a little bit chuffed because they're like, oh my gosh, like I put millions of dollars into this guy's bank account and he's only paying me $12,000 a month. It feels ridiculous, right? This is a way to combat that. Anywho, Shoots, that's my answer, bud. How did I do, man?
So one thing that always struck me, and I was reading about this the other day, and it's when it comes to gift cards, okay? I want you to take a guess for me, and this is as of the end of March 2025. How much do you think Starbucks has in stored value, gift card, and loyalty program balances? Just take a guess.
So how often they don't get redeemed?
Well, in terms of just how much money do they have that people have loaded up on their cards, may or may not get used. But again, this is now money that the company can use before it even gets redeemed, right?
Cash upfront. Yeah, 100. It's like we talked about cash forward business, right? The reason that the building company will never scale is because they get paid after they build the house, after they do the porch. They get paid at the end. Amazon gets paid on the front end. You buy the book and then they put it in the mail, right? So it's cash forward business. Let us say 80% don't get redeemed. and the number would be huge in terms of the cash that they get in their pocket up front. So how am I doing? Did I answer your question? I don't know if I
Ready for it? The quarter ending
Wait.
March 30th, 2025, Starbucks had $1.85 billion.
Did you ask, is that you asked me Starbucks specifically? I didn't hear that.
I did Starbucks specifically. Yep.
Okay, yeah, there you go. Yeah, and that money is in their bank account, and they can put it into the stock market. They can invest it in new product. They can invest it in XYZ, and the clients will redeem it and by the way, a lot of that will not get redeemed in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, and again, the average business owner shoots. This is an example of why Starbucks is Starbucks, Amazon is Amazon, and the local business owner not doing too well. It's wild.
All right.
There you
Well,
go.
let's find our inner peace for a second. You know where we're going, Brad. Let's go. Get a moment of Zen.
Zen shoots. Okay. I do. I'm ready. Okay. So here's what I wrote. And I've said a couple of times, actually, literally said this to my wife, which is remarkable. Did she pay attention? I'm not going to comment further on that, but that's okay. Love her to death, by the way. But so God provides food. That didn't sound very good. Let me keep going. God provides food for the birds, but he doesn't throw the worms into the nest, right? Oh, I just love that. And so what does it say? When you ask God or you ask the universe for something, right? What are you going to ask them for? New clients, new for your clients, more money, better marriage, more courage, better relationship with your kids, maybe more peace that we've talked about in the podcast many times here in the last while, more happiness, right? Look, he'll get it to you. The universe will get it to you, but it likely won't show up in the form that you'd like, right? How does it show up? Pain and discomfort is where all the lessons live or are derived from, right? So succeed, you celebrate; fail, you contemplate. Contemplation is where all the magic tends to lie, right? So rather than new clients, he'll place you on a plane beside an accountant or in a room with a business owner. Or rather than the new skill, he'll place a great mentor in front of you for you to engage, right? You ask for results for your clients, and he'll place powerful operating system, business coaching software in front of you. Better marriage, he'll for you and your husband to get through together, right? Better relationship with your kids, he'll give them a really tough challenge, and it's one that you and your child or you and your children need to work through, right? So again, so God doesn't, he provides food for the birds, but what he doesn't do is grab the worms and throw them into the nest. What do they got to do? They got to go and earn them. So again, you ask for new clients, he puts an accountant into your life in somehow, some way, but you got to do the work, right? So tell you where to look, but I don't tell you what to see. You need to do the same with your high-end coaching clients. Show you where to look, not what to see. And maybe again, I just shouldn't say that without one of my favorite lines, and that's that a real mentor can tell you what not to do. Very, very important. But anyway, so I don't know, Shades. I don't know if you like that as much as I do, but yeah, the birds are provided food, but it is not thrown into their nest. I love that.
It's not just going to be handed to you.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, bud. Why don't you close us out with the one thing? What is the one thing from today's podcast that a coach can take, implement?
One thing.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah. Okay, so I would go. So we just talked about offers a fair bit, but change your offer, change your life. In the words of Frank Kern, if you don't know who that is, he's a very, unbelievable internet marketer and done many, many, many millions of dollars online without sales calls and all that sort of stuff. And he said to me, Karl, I make more offers, so I make more money. You make more offers, you will make more money. Your clients make more offers, they will make more money. When I reverse engineer it and I look at the number of offers that you're making and I look at the number of offers that your client's making, the landscaper, the roofer, the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, you'd be horrifically disappointed with how low that number is. And then you don't just create an offer, but you need frames, right? So again, I talked about scarcity. I talked about finding a way to, jack up your number of inquiries, right? Anyway, so urgency, scarcity, etc. So that's what I would say. It's change your offer, change your life. In closing.
Love that. Absolutely love that. Well, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. And if you're not on the inside getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or just want more information how to build, grow, and scale your coaching company, please do yourself the favor. Visit focused.com and subscribe today. And again, if you enjoyed this podcast, please like and subscribe, and also share with a fellow coach. Hey, as we're trying to make our impact on as many coaches as possible. While you're at it, please feel free to leave us a review. That is it for another week. We'll see you in the next episode. But remember, folks, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.